Hi guys, this is Harish Kumaridi. Welcome to DevOps World. So previously we discussed about Ansible working strategy. Now today I'm trying to discuss about the practical session, guys. So previously we installed Ansible installation, and so far we've seen that we've seen the structure. What is the structure of Ansible configuration? So now in this Ansible configuration, we have two types of scenarios. That is ad hoc commands, and next one is playbooks actually. So now we are trying to continue the sessions, guys, so that you can understand very easily what is going on in this particular Ansible configuration. Okay, so now here we are trying to go with Ansible configuration. For this, we are trying to go with first one is ad hoc commands. So basically, if you're working on ad hoc commands, you're working with single or one or more commands, guys. Okay, so for this, we are trying to go with recapping again. So we are trying to go with recapping about this particular modular evaluation. Okay, so for this, we are trying to go with the first one is command. So what is my command? Command stands for it will execute whatever you're trying to give the input file, it will automatically represents the output file also. For this, we are trying to go with command. The next one is we are trying to go with shell command. Shell stands for whatever you're trying to allocate any shell. So like suppose if you're working on shell means that is a protecting layer. We are trying to work on the whatever you're trying to do any operation in this particular like software installation or any scripting file. Definitely we are using shell command to execute, and we are trying to rewriting the pipeline commands. For this, we are trying to use shell command for that. Next, we are trying to go with next one is ping. Ping stands for whether your server is working or not, whether you are trying to give the server is working or not. For this, we are using ping command for that. The next one is user command. User command is something where we can try to create a user management, and we are working on creating. So we can try to create a users, and we are trying to create a passwords, and we are trying to create a home directories. Okay, so that's why we are trying to work on the creating the users for this. Okay. Now, next one is we are trying to go with copy command. So what do you mean by copy? So we are trying to go with our source file to original files. That is, whatever you have as whatever you have the original files, we are trying to copy the duplicate files. For this, we are using copy command for this. Okay, so this module is used to copy the files, and we are trying to create a folders, and we are working on the controller for that. Okay, so that's why we are trying to use files and folders for the managed nodes. The next one is fetching command. What is my fetch? Fetch is nothing but searching. We are trying to search the files. Based upon the searching files, we are trying to create a copying the files and folders on the base of controller. Okay. The next one is file. File is nothing but we are trying to create a files, and we are trying to create a directories, and we are trying to create a on the particular part of managed nodes. For this, we are using files. Okay. The next one is we are using stat commands. Stat stands for how much you're trying to go with files and folders, how much you're trying to create a files and folders. For this, you're using stat command. Okay. The next one is debug. Debug stands for we are trying to display the output file on the base of module node. Okay. So that's why we are using debug concept. The next one is APT. APT stands for it will perform the installation part, and we are trying to go with upgrading repositories, and we are trying to work on the different types of flavors under the process of managed nodes. Okay, so that's why we are using APT for that. The next one is yum. Yum stands for we are trying to go with the APT module. We are trying to go with Red Hat servers. We are trying to work on the flavors, and we are trying to work on the different types of progress. That's why we are using yum command. Okay. The next one is git. So you know what is Git? Git is a like centralized version control system where we are working with the creating the nodes. So we have a two types of version control system, that is centralized and distributed. Okay, so in this distributed, we are trying to perform any types of actions. We are trying to go with some different types of managed nodes. For this, we are using Git command. The next one is replace. So replace stands for we are trying to replacing the files, and we are trying to use the text files according to the data, and we are trying to perform the different types of operations. For this, we are using replace module for this. Okay. The next one is service. Service stands for we are trying to work on the different types of services. So how can you perform the services by using start, stop, and restarting the service. We are trying to work performing the restarting the particular part of the service. The next one is include. Include stands for we are trying to work on the child files based upon the we are trying to creating the files, how we can try to perform the progress. So for this, we are trying to use include. Include means we'll try to show the use case scenario for this. We are trying to work on the progress. Okay. The next one is we are trying to perform the URI. URI stands for Unique Modified Language. We are trying to performing the different types of progress, how we can try to perform the integrations. That's why we are using URI. URI stands for Uniform Resource Locator. Next one is Docker container. So we are trying to perform the Docker container. So what is Docker container? Docker container is a storage where we can perform the actions, and number of node activity. Okay, that's why we are using Docker for this. Okay, so Docker container will try to enumerate different types of data, and we are trying to perform the images and as well as containers, and we are trying to perform the different types of actions. That's why we are using Docker container. The next one is we are trying to go with Docker images. So what is by image? Image stands for, it's a way of working with ISO, just like ISO files. We are trying to perform the images for this. Okay. Next, we are trying to go with Docker login. So login stands for how can you perform the login file? So like how can you create a login files and how can you perform the progress? That's why we are using Docker file login. Okay. So the next one is setup. Setup stands for how can you set up the software, services, and installation parts. For this, we are using a setup file. So it is used to capturing the system, and we are trying to work on the managed nodes. Okay, so previously I discussed about I want to check the memory services. For this, we are trying to go with controller. So in this controller, so we are working with syntax, guys. So please try to go with syntax by using ad hoc commands. So basically, if you want to perform the syntax, we are trying to go with Ansible all. Ansible all, we are trying to perform the syntaxes, and we are trying to go with a group name, following address with the group name, and following with the address, that is inventory path. And we are trying to connect the module, that is we are trying to connect the module, but -a stands for arguments. -a stands for arguments. We are trying to perform in the argument parts. Okay, so the next one is which we can perform that. So with this command, I'm trying to go with use case scenarios files. Previously, I already discussed this one. Just I want to recap again for this to understand your purposes. Okay, so I want to check the memory servers on the base of managed controller. We are trying to go with Ansible all. Ansible all means how many servers you are trying to allocate, like server 1, server 2, and we are working with the controller. Okay, so and we are working with the controller. -a stands for inventory, and we are trying to go with etc Ansible host. etc Ansible host. Okay, so here we are trying to perform whenever you are trying to work on the command, definitely it will try to store the files. It will try to store the files. Then how can you create a file using a controller? Using controller. So for this, we are using a touch file. See here, we are working with the touch file, and we are working with the etc Ansible host. We are working with the controllers. Okay, so this is what we are trying to go. So these are some applications which I was enrolled, the software applications. So from tomorrow onwards, I'll try to start the practical, guys, so that you can understand easily. So my target is I want to understand these commands again, so that I was revising the concept, so that it will be very familiar to you to work on the next practical sessions, guys. Okay, so if you have any doubt, feel free to ask me in comment section, so that I can clarify you for this particular whatever you have a doubt, so that it will be very useful. If you have any more information, try to tell me that, so I can try to go with the access. Okay, so this is all about today's class, guys. Tomorrow onwards, we'll following the practical sessions, guys. Okay, thank you so much and have a nice day, guys.